Morjes! Tervetuloa Metalliluolan videohaastatteluun pariin. Mun nimi on Janne Lesonen. Tämä tässä on oravan muotoinen repeämä tapetissa. Ei haittaa. Mutta joo, vieraanamme tänään on pitkän linjan brittiläinen death metal jyräjä konkari, suorastaan veteraani skenessä. Hänet tunnetaan hänen edellisestä yhtyeestään Bolt Thrower, mutta ennen kaikkea hänen vuonna 2016 perustetusta death metal-bändi Memoriamista. Hyvät ystävät, minä annan teille Karl Willets. Olkaa hyvät. Hello, Karl Willets. How are you doing today?
Hi there, Jan. It's good to speak to you. I am doing incredibly well. It is, where are we? 10th of March, so a couple of weeks away from the release of our new album. And the weather here in Birmingham, in the UK, is very clement. Spring is springing up all around us. There is life, there is hope, there is a future, and COVID is going to be no longer with it. Well, it's going to be with us, but there's a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel, isn't there, for everybody? So yeah, things are feeling a little bit more hopeful all round, and it's all good. It's all good.
I'm glad to hear. I'm also feeling quite positive because it is springtime very soon, and the amount of light we're getting now more and more, it's getting the hope.
Yes, yeah. I've visited Finland a few times, obviously, and yeah, it's a bit of a weird phenomenon that it's dark for a long time, and then all of a sudden it's light all day. It's quite bizarre going out to a club and then kind of leaving the club, and it's like daytime. Coming out at 3 o'clock in the morning, it's daytime. What's all about?
I don't know. Good to hear that you're doing well. That's nice. What is
that? I'm having a beer as well, which always helps. You know, that's always good.
Beer, yes. I was just asking, what is it that you're drinking right now? I'm drinking.
Actually, I don't know if you follow me on Twitter or Facebook.
Not yet, I do. Not yet.
Okay, well, yeah, I do a daily. I'm quite a big connoisseur of craft beer. That's my thing. So I do a daily post on the beer of the day that I am drinking. So today I am drinking a nice IPA, a West Coast IPA, by a brewer called Duration, good English brewer, called Dripping Pitch, which has an ABV of 6.7%. But always in moderation. Always in moderation. Honest people out there. I only have 2 cans a night. So it's always good to enjoy it, but not have too much.
2 is enough. Not too much, but 2 is.
So I usually move on to the whiskey after that.
That doesn't count. It's not in the. I am not good with math, so it's good. It's good. All right. So you have a new album coming out. Yay! In about.
Really?
Yes. So I've heard. Yeah. The little birds have tweeted me that the new Memoriam is dropping.
It is dropping
to the end.
Soon. To the end, yes. It's dropping in 16 days' time, in fact. So yeah, we're very pleased the way it's all come together. Yeah, all good.
Yeah.
You personally, so the cover in the background there, look.
I noticed. You have prepared.
I have prepared, yeah.
Dan Seagrave.
I'm sitting in the middle of a Dan Seagrave world. It's quite bizarre. It's quite dark. It's quite scary.
It is very dark and gloomy and ominous for sure.
Ominous. Indeed.
So how you personally feel about the new album?
Yeah, we're very, very pleased with the way that it's come together. You know, it's album number 4. And I think it's, from my perspective, it's a big step forward for us in our career. Possibly, well, I'm bound to say that, but you know, it is the best album we've done to date. That's due to a large number of factors that are involved with why this album is the animal, the beast that it is. I can list some of those factors.
Please do. Please
which
do.
will probably answer the majority of the questions you've got in one go. But yeah, I mean, it is a product of its time, very much. This fourth album, it's our fourth album in 5 years, so we are recording at a voracious pace, and we like to do that. We're doing that because it's kind of reflective of the old school days when we first started out doing bands. That's how it was. You released an album once every couple of years, and you did that. And then as the bands developed and got older, then the timescales grew and it took longer and longer. But we're trying to retain that kind of like that feeling of creativity and pushing forward at a fast pace. We want to try and achieve as much as we can in the time that we have got left on this planet. We're all knocking on a bit.
True.
And so we're just enjoying what we're doing. We don't tend to like kind of look back. We tend to look forward, so we kind of like pushing onwards into battle and doing what we do, and enjoying what we're doing for what it is. Now, this album in particular is a product of the times that we're living in, really. We've kind of came 2020. We were scheduled into the studio to record this in October 2020, but that year 2020 was a absolutely unprecedented, strange year for everyone, wasn't it? Kind of like the whole
it sucked ass.
Absolutely. It was all rolling along quite nicely. We just released the previous year Requiem for Mankind, and we were kind of like gearing up to kind of do a nice year of shows to promote that album. And come March, the whole world ground to a halt, and life as we knew it ceased to be. So it kind of put us in a position where, we weren't going away and doing shows every weekend like we normally do. We weren't rehearsing for doing shows or doing anything because there was COVID restrictions in place, so we couldn't do anything. So the only thing we could do was really focus on getting this new album together. So normally speaking, when we're busy, when we do a normal year, we're doing shows, we're rehearsing for gigs, and then when we're doing an album, it's usually only say about 4 to 6 weeks before we're due to go into the studio that we actually sit down, lock the doors, and concentrate on getting the album together. However, this time around we had 6 to 8 months, 6 months to write and do it in. So the music was pretty much all done, by June, July time. And which gave me 3 months to do the lyrics and the vocals and work all those out, And normally speaking, I probably normally have 2 or 3 weeks to do it in. So, normally it's kind of like, lock the doors, do the album, into the studio, all the music gets done. I get to listen to it. I get to write the lyrics. So I'm always kind of doing it, at the end. And it's usually when I'm in the studio as well. So usually first take or second draft of lyrics is what you get. But this time around, I kind of had the opportunity to write several drafts of the lyrics and change them around and work on them. I even had the chance to go over to Scott's house to his studio and demo them, which is the first time I've ever done that, in my whole career of doing this. And as a result of that, I had the chance to work on the timings and the structures and the delivery and the patterns and try out different things. And I think that's really kind of made the album what it is, the fact that we've had time to prepare. And so when we actually did go into the studio in October, the whole process was incredibly smooth, so that's one huge contributory factor to why the album is what it is. There's other things also engaged with that as well. I think the fact that we've got a new drummer, has been a big contributory factor to make the album what it is. I mean, no detriment to Whale, great drummer, but Spike, our new drummer, brings a different element, a different interpretation of the drumming, the patterns into the game as well. So all these different things add up to what it is. We've kind of continued on the vein of kind of like trying out new ideas and testing new kind of sounds and textures and tones, and it could clearly be seen or heard with this new album that what we've done with this album is it's very diverse. you know, there's lots of different songs on there with different sounds and different textures, more so probably than what we've done in the past. So, you know, there's a lot on this album which for the listener to it takes you on a bit of a journey through it. So so yeah, I think people, I'm looking forward to generally how the public are going to receive it. Yeah, because I think if people are expecting or anticipating you know, just songs that are of the same ilk of what they've heard already, such as Failure to Comply or Onwards into Battle, they're in for a big surprise. So so yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of seeing what kind of like what reception it gets.
Yeah. I've managed to listen to the promo version of the album digitally about 2 times now, and yeah, like you said, it is more diverse for sure. Yes. And there were like slight surprises in terms of like songwriting that I noticed, because I've been listening to your Memoriam's back catalog like back to back, and like try to like get the more idea of like the band and the sound. So yeah.
I mean, I think with this album, we've explored areas that we've never really kind of like touched on before. For example, you know, to pick on specific examples, there's a track on there called Each Step, One Closer to the Grave, which is a big epic doom metal song, which is something we've never done before, you know, and I think it fits with the feeling of the world that's around us at the moment, and it kind of it's something I've always wanted to do. I'm kind of a big fan of epic doom metal, you know, Candlemass and
yes.
Trouble for me. Trouble are probably, you know, one of my kind of favorite bands, and you know, throughout my career, I've never really done a song like that. You know, I always wanted to, and Scott was aware of that, so he wrote this track for me to kind of like to do, and it was difficult, you know, because I'm not used to doing songs like that. It was quite hard to find an in. And it took me about 6 or 7 attempts of different drafts, lyrics to make it work. So yeah, it's great to know that even at this stage of my career, I've been doing it for like 30 years or so. We're still learning how to do new things. You know, with that song in particular, with that, I've discovered that less is more. You know, the less lyrics you put in there, the more space you give the music, the more effect and depth the song has. So, you know, that's a prime example of something we tried to do differently on this album. Again, there's other songs on there which take you on different journeys. You know, for example, Mass Psychosis is a song that really jumps out, which is very, very different from anything we've done before as well. You know, that's a song that builds on the new drummer's technique and his experience working with Killing Joke. It's very much a doff of the cap to Killing Joke. My ultimate all-time favorite band. You know, Jazz Coleman is
great band.
My hero when it comes to lyric writing and performing. And so, you know, we've done this song which is very much in that vein, which totally, you know, is out of the blue and takes you by surprise in that respect. So that's good. And of course, the last song as well, which is potentially I'd say is my favorite track off the album. As My Heart Grows Cold is a big, epic, melancholy story of life and love and sorrow and joy. And really, it's a great way to end the album. You know, I'm particularly proud of that track. You know, it's probably from my perspective potentially the best track that I think that I've been involved with to date. So there you go.
Yeah, the first time when I was listening to the new album, the last track definitely leaves you on a really like a dark feeling because of like how it ended with your words. How was it like? It takes a better man.
Take a better man than I. And it ends like that as well, you know. So you kind of leaves that thought in your mind, you know, kind of like it's.
It certainly did. It certainly did. Yeah. I was listening to it in a bus, and like when I got off the bus, those were the words I was listening to. I was like, in the pitch dark, very cold. I was like, what?
Yes, there's no chance to forgive.
Very true. Very true. Well, you also mentioned that this time around you had, because of the COVID and all that, you had more time to write the lyrics. So how was that like in comparison to you as a writer was it more of a blessing that you had more time, or was it more of a curse because now you had to you had more time to second guess yourself? Because how did that feel?
Yeah, it was an interesting experience, because usually, when you kind of like I said previously, usually it's like I get the music completed, finished, and I've got 2 or 3 weeks to deliver the final kind of like final versions, of the songs, and often that means that I'm recording them and changing them while I'm in the studio. I say with this time around, I had like 3 or 4 months to do it. And I found at that point in time, so you are very much, when you're writing lyrics, very much influenced by the world around you. I find that's where I draw a lot of my reference from, is from real life, and that's the glorious thing about writing and being in Memoriam, is that I have that ability to draw on the real world that's around us, rather than kind of concepts or fantasy that's from a third person perspective. These days I'm writing very much from a personal point of view. So I found that the whole, when I was writing them, the first whole set of lyrics that I wrote, the first 9 songs, I kind of like wrote them all, and I kind of read through them, and I kind of like left them for a few days and went back to them and thought, well, these are good, and if I was going to be in the studio next week, that's what you'd get, and they'd be fine. But they were all very much of a very overtly political aspect. They're very massively political content to virtually every single song that I'd written, because in my mind at that point, there's all these issues of what was happening in the world around us. The kind of like the ever-growing threat of kind of like of right-wing ideology, which is sweeping the planet around us. That's a kind of growing concern of mine. It's an ongoing concern of mine. Not just in every nation, in every on the planet. That's a kind of concern. So that was a big issue that was growing, and that was kind of reflected in here in the UK with the impact of Brexit, which is really becoming a reality now, and that again, that is fueled by right-wing xenophobic mentality. The right-wing media have managed to spin the public perception of it, and it is bred on fear of the other people, and other races. And that was also kind of the whole thing that was kicking off in America with the whole Trumpism thing. This is before the storming of the White House. And the whole Black Lives Matter was a really big deal, a big issue that was going on. The murder of George Floyd is just another example of the ongoing saga throughout the decades of oppression of Black people in America. So kind of like those issues were really at the forefront of my mind. So I found that all the lyrics that I'd written had kind of a bit of an element of that in it, and I thought, that's great, that's fine, that would have done. But it's not really what I want to do. I like to kind of have a bit of balance in what I'm doing. I think you need a bit of balance to make the songs with that kind of structure have more effect. So it gave me having that time gave me the ability to stand back, pull out the ones that I really felt had the best kind of political content involved in them. Songs like Failure to Comply, which we've released as a digital single. So I retained all the 3 or 4 songs which I felt had a good, solid political content to them, but I kind of managed to rework and structure some of the other songs, and kind of inject some other themes into the other songs. Obviously, war is a big subject matter, which I'm kind of known for doing. It's got kind of almost kind of it's kind of anticipated that I'm going to do that, and in reality, I can write those lyrics in my sleep. It's not a big deal. But I think I needed to put them in there. I need to have some songs that had some kind of content regarding the whole concept of war, in a way, just to kind of formulate a bit of continuity between what we've done previously as well. So I managed to rewrite some of the lyrics to the words to fit into that kind of context. You know, Onwards into Battle is a prime example of that. You know, This War Is Won. It's a kind of example of that, but it's more of a song about, you know, pride and kind of achieving things and moving on in your life. So it's got a reference to war, but it's more of a, you know, that analogy of war and life, which I always kind of tend to use. These days, I think that I've got to that point where I'm kind of writing more, rather than from a third person perspective outside looking in, I'm more writing from more of an insider perspective looking out. You know, I think that comes with age and experience and confidence, really. But with that process of rewriting the songs, I kind of managed to kind of, the more different songs that we got fitted this kind of like kind of theme of life in general. The songs that I write about, which are about, you know, the ups and downs of life, you know, the experience of life, loss and sorrow, and love and loss. Those to me are the songs that I find more rewarding. You know, because they have more resonance. You know, they're people that we've all been through it. You know, we've all been through, you know, these experiences, and they're things that people can relate to quite closely. So those are the songs that I feel that are the strongest on the album for me, the ones that I take most pleasure from. And so therefore, as a result of having all this time on my hands, yeah, instead of writing songs which had one kind of perspective, I managed to inject a whole ream of different themes in there, which kind of created a sense of balance between the three different kind of concepts: war, life, politics. So you got a whole range of those that feature within the album, which helped to balance it out quite nicely and help the journey throughout the album as well. So yeah, having all this time on its hands ended up being a very good thing for me, you know. And I think moving forward, I think we may try and take that on board and maybe not release albums, you know, every year. Maybe leave it for 18 months. So it just gives us a bit more time, you know, to kind of like structure things. And it seems to work well for us that way. So, you know, all in all, COVID has been a devastating global issue, and you know, kind of like millions have died across the planet. But, you know, retrospectively, we've got quite a good album out of it. So it's not all bad.
Yeah. Sometimes you gotta let it brew slightly more.
Absolutely.
And,
absolutely.
Yeah, you also mentioned the song "Failed to Comply," and when I first saw that title, I was thinking, "Ooh, they made a song from Robocop."
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Even the intro kind of has got a bit of a Robocop kind of esque feel to it as well, you know. Again, I mean, I've explained, I don't know if you've seen the video, but that is a song that's totally grounded in reality, you know. I kind of, that was born from direct experience of one of my friends who was involved in a Black Lives Matter demonstration in Eugene, in Oregon. And she sent me over this kind of like footage that she'd taken of the kind of police kind of trying to control the crowds by threatening them with chemical munitions. And it was I just had to use it, you know. It was just such a, you know, a kind of epic kind of like introduction to something. And so yeah, again, it's another classic example of us managing to get something good out of otherwise a negative scenario. So it's all worked out well.
Totes. And now, now that the idea and the concept of Robocop is out there, which one would you rather be, Robocop or Terminator 2 Terminator?
Oh, Terminator 2 every day, obviously, you know. That's either or, you know. Who would not want to be Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Oh, true.
Absolutely. T2 every day. T2.
Yeah. Great film. So, talking slightly like the history of Memoriam, it said on the Metal Archives that, and I quote, according to an interview conducted with Karl Willets in March 2016, the band was formed as a tribute to late ball thrower drummer Martin "Kitty" Kearns. And that made me want to ask this: how do you see the band now? Do you still think Memoriam as a tribute band, or just as a band, a unit of its own?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it was. That's entirely correct in many respects. It was formed as a reaction to the series of events. I mean, Martin's death was a catalyst for us to start doing the band. It made me really think about what I wanted to achieve with the rest of my life. When you lose someone that's close to you, it does make you question your own existence, and it makes you want to realize that you've got to get on with your life and do the things that you want to do. So I was in a position where, did I want to wait around for something that may or may not ever happen, with the band I was in at that time. And it made me think, well, I've got to get on with my life and do the things that I want to do on my terms. So as in tribute to Martin, we did that, but there's other factors involved. Frank had lost his dad at that same time, so there's other issues there, and it's an ongoing. It was a way of almost a cathartic exercise to kind of like verbalize and kind of like the experiences that we were going through, that grief and that sorrow and that mourning, and that was kind of experienced through the first 3 albums, and I think we did that, and it's when you lose someone that's close to you, even I can talk quite closely about what's happened recently with the tragic loss of LG from Entombed. That's that again. That's sort of all these things have a lost year. Brett from Malevolent Creation, kind of he was a close friend of mine as well. But so it seems as you get older, these things happen more regularly as well. And it's a question of you kind of like get on with your life and you deal with it, and you never really get over it, but you just take it on board, and it becomes part of you. Their memories, their spirit is really kind of the memories that you've got in your head of them, and they become who you are, and they live through your memories. So we've done that, and we've grown and we've developed, and I think we've got to the point now, 5 years on, with the fourth album, that the first 3 albums were very much of that kind of dark genre experience, and we've got to that point now where we kind of like at a point where we've been through COVID as well, which is kind of been a very dark experience, and now we're kind of feeling a bit more at the end of that, towards the end of that, with spring and with a new year, with a new record label for us, with a new drummer, a new trilogy of albums. We are starting to feel a little bit more hopeful about the world around us, and a bit more kind of like. So I think we're taking a new direction with this new album. We kind of started to explore that kind of that ethos, that moniker that I always say, celebration of life. Through death metal, and we've got kind of like trying to kind of explore that. So visually as well, you see this album cover, it's kind of got a bit more light to it. As a glowing orb, which symbolizes kind of like life, and there's light there in the background, which has never been there before on the album covers. So we are entering a new phase with Memoriam. Moving onwards, and I think maybe embracing a bit more hope for the future, and that's what we're going to try and tend to kind of explore with these next few albums that we're going to do. There's life in what we're doing. There's a new trilogy. This is the first of another 3 albums that we're going to do. So it's all good. It's all positive and it's all hopeful, and we're looking forward to the future.
Nice. And you also mentioned a couple of times of the new drummer, and also like the whole band has a lot of experience in different bands. Like they're all veterans of the metal scene. So how did like the recruiting part of Memoriam started, and like how did that go in the beginning of the
I mean it was it's been fairly well documented that when I decided that I'd like to another deciding factor, one of the catalysts of wanting to do Memoriam was the opportunity to work with my best mate Whale, who's a former drummer of Bolt Thrower. So that was automatically one of the things that I wanted to do. And again, Frank, I've known Frank for 30 years, and we've always had those kind of like drunken meetings in pubs, saying, "Yeah, we've got to do a band together." And that was an ongoing discussion that we probably had for about 30 years. But I was busy doing what I was doing. He was busy doing what he was doing. It just never happened. So, when this all kind of started off, he was he was going to have to be the bass player. Whale was going to have to be the drummer. And we got Scott involved because Frank knew him, and it all just rolled from there. And the reason we got Spike involved really is pretty much the same kind of ilk really, that Frank knew Spike from working in Sacrilege with him back in the day. And so he's from the same mindset of us. He's from that old kind of hardcore punk anarcho background. And he's worked with so many different bands throughout his career. He's an absolute consummate professional. And bands such as The Damned, he's worked with Conflict. He's worked with Killing Joke, as I said previously, my favourite band. He's worked with Morrissey. He's worked with a whole range of different types of bands, and his sphere of influence is very wide. And I say, when Whale said that he couldn't really kind of continue doing it because of his injury with his shoulder, we kind of had to kind of like get someone on board fairly quickly. And because of the connections that Frank had with Spike, from the past, he was obviously going to be the first choice for us. And he's worked really well. He's gelled in with the band incredibly fast. And he only had 6 to 8 weeks to learn all the music for the album, before we sent him into the studio. Said, go and do it. And so he came up with, I think he did phenomenally well. And so in the future, he's going to have a lot more influence and a lot more input into the way we're going to be writing songs as well. So I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be interesting because he's got a wide range of different techniques, jazz drumming, which could be interesting. So nice. We're looking forward to working with him moving forward, and the future looks bright.
Cool. Yeah, always. I would be really interested to hear like those jazz elements in the next Memoriam.
Yeah, absolutely. Jazz fusion and offbeats. He's kind of brought a lot of that into the new album. These offbeat timings that he brings in. And his tribal drumming that he's brought in there on some of the songs is incredible. So
nice.
Yeah, it's great.
Cool. I was also looking at the release dates of all of the albums, and 3 out of 4, only exception is the last album, Requiem for Mankind, in 2019. They've all been published in March. Is there any reason for that? It's March.
We just like March. It's just a good time to release an album, really. It's just the way it's all panned out, really. Timing wise, we tend to always kind of doing shows throughout the year. In the summer months, and so it tends to be that we end up in the studio when it's cold and wet and dark in October, November time, normally. And that's just generally the way it flows. But I think we're going to keep this schedule. I think the next album, I'd like to think that we're going to be doing that in 12 to 18 months time. And keep that structure going. I think.
I also just realized, March, isn't it in the what it represents in some languages is the Mars, the god of war.
The god of war. I like your connection there, my friend. I never really kind of contemplate that one. But really, realistically, March is a good time to release an album because if you release one before Christmas, it gets sucked into the Christmas mire and never gets recognised. And March is a good time to release because it's just before the big summer festival process, and that's when you go out there and you promote your albums and get the most publicity and press from it as well. So it's a good gap in the calendar to release an album. I think, generally speaking, that's when our record labels have always wanted to put our records out. So it's kind of worked well in that phenomenon. And of course, it's March. It's when the god of war is prevalent in the sky.
It all comes together.
It all formulates the massive master plan. I like it.
Brilliant. I was also looking through the the artwork, which are all drawn, painted by Dan Seagrave.
And
From the
Seagrave.
very first. Yeah, and I was also like looking at the imagery and the soldiers in those photos. I mean paintings. They look the same. So are these albums telling some sort of a story in the same universe, like in your your previous band, where the Warhammer 40K was kind of like some sort of a
we've created our own dystopian kind of like universe here with these albums. They do tell a story. The first three, obviously on the first album, the focus of these album covers is always like the first three was always the coffin, wasn't it? The leader figure in his death state. And so the first three tell this story of his death kind of state. I refer to them now as in retrospect as what I call the death cycle trilogy. And so we got the first album is the fallen leader being carried across the battlefield, and then you got the second album is the coffin laying in state with all the followers, kind of paying tribute to him, and the last album is the consummation, the internment of the coffin. So the coffin's always been the central focus, and I say with this new album, it's the leader figure is very much alive, and that's what we're going to do. It's almost this is the prequel really to the first album. So to the end, this is the end point of this character's life, and then we go into the death cycle. So this is what I consider to be the first point of what I am calling the life cycle trilogy. So we're going to explore this character in reverse, very, very much in a George Lucas Star Wars kind of manner.
Nice.
I've gone on George Lucas on you, but without money. And so this is the start. This is almost the end point. That's why it's called To the End, because this is the end point. This is the battle where he's leading his troops into battle, where ultimately he gets killed, which kicks off, for the fallen. So here, and from this point onwards, we're going to work in reverse and visit specific points within this character's life cycle, and celebrate his life through death. There you go. So there we are. We've got a theme to work to, and it's great to work with Dan. Dan was it was a no-brainer. We had to use Dan Seagrave because the quality of his work that he produces and the experience of working with him is great. You unload some kind of like vague kind of like concepts that you've got in your mind to him, and then he interprets them. First of all, he does some rough sketches, which he fires to you, and then he kind of starts to ink it in, and then it slowly develops into what it is. And it's just being part of that creative process is incredible. And for us, he is the only artist we can use, because once you kind of like start using an artist like Dan Seagrave, where do you go from there? It's very difficult. Once you've set your standard, up there, you can't come in any lower than that. Otherwise, you're automatically setting yourself up for criticism, aren't you? So we are tied to Dan Seagrave for the whole of our career from now on, which is great. We were we were lucky actually, because I didn't really come up with this kind of like concept until very late in the day. We were wondering where we were going to go with it. Whether to continue it, where do we go with that? Kind of this story. Do we start something fresh? Do we use a different artist? But at the end of the day, we had to use Dan because maintaining the standards that we've created. And it was only until probably about August time, late August, when I kind of came up with this kind of like idea of doing a prequel life cycle trilogy. And I kind of approached Dan and said, look, I've got this idea. This is what it is. I need it in 6 weeks' time. Can you deliver? and luckily he did. A fair play to him. Because he's very, very popular, and he's very fully booked with things. But he managed to rejig his schedule and get us fixed into that. And he delivered it within a relatively very short timescale. Yeah, but for me, I think, for me, because of the likeness that's involved in this cover, which reflects throughout it, for me, it's my favourite cover so far that he's done for us. So, very pleased to be using Mr. Seagrave, and we shall be for the next 2 albums also.
Yes. So if there's gonna be like a third trilogy, we had the Death Cycle, Life Cycle, and with in the kind of like a Star Wars-esque idea, is the third trilogy gonna be like a Disney cycle?
Yeah, it's going to be an animated. We'll probably be dead by then. So, so it's going to be an animated, and we'll get our children to do that one.
Oh, that would be nice. Cool. Yeah, so like the whole band, like the concept and all the stories, they are quite grim and dark. So I wanted to ask you, like, what is your like funniest memory or like happiest memory surrounding the band? Like some happy shenanigan that happened on tour, or
happy shenanigans.
Whatever.
They happen every day, mate. Every week, every time we get together. I mean, for us, really, doing this band. One thing, it's about making the music. That's quite important. But equally as important, it's about the social aspect of doing it. So, whenever we get to the rehearsal room every week, normally, pre-COVID, and just meeting up and having a few beers and just jamming out some stuff. We just have a laugh. We enjoy doing it for what it is. And I think that's got to be the ethos behind every band. Whatever level you're at, whether you've released 4 or 5 albums, you've been doing it for 20, 30 years, or you've been doing it for 6 months and you're just doing some demos in your local rehearsal room. That's got to be the driving force behind what you're doing it for. It's just have fun doing it, and that's what we do. So every moment we are together, we have incredible time. I couldn't actually pinpoint one specific moment because there's so many of them. Every time we go off and do some shows a weekend, they're just filled with joyous experiences, and that's what we live for. And long may that last.
True. Now I want to ask some like
I should be a politician, shouldn't I? I managed to skirt that one quite nicely without incriminating anybody.
Yes. Yeah. I have questions prepared. Yeah. So like to you as a person, Karl, I want to ask a few questions. This one I had to like write, because I have a second screen slightly there. So if you're wondering why I'm looking like there,
looking distant into the distance.
Yeah. So, so this has a build up to the question. So in your previous band,
do you need a drum roll?
I'm fine. I'm fine.
Okay. Well, we'll leave the drum roll then. Okay.
Yeah. So in your previous band, Bolt Thrower, it took a lot of inspiration from the strategy game Warhammer Fantasy Battles, as well as its futuristic companion Warhammer 40,000, and much of the art being provided by the game's publisher Games Workshop.
Yeah.
So, do you personally play Warhammer games?
No.
All right.
I did back when I was like, in my teens, probably up to the age of about 20, 21, 22. It's, great. I used to have a big epic weekend battles with my best friend, Tom Walker. He had a massive dwarven army. I used to have an undead army, and that's what we used to do. It was great to to create not just that. You're sitting around in your house listening to new demos that are being sent to you and painting figures that it kind of kept you off the streets, kept you out of trouble. We're talking about pre-video games here. This was a great hobby to kind of like create a whole new world in your mind, and it was brilliant. Kind of kept me really, really focused for a good few years during my teens. But as the band got more busier, my interest in that kind of waned, as you got older as well. I did actually have a stint when I left university in 1998. I worked at a games workshop. I managed a games workshop shop for 6 months. But the way I felt about it at that point in my life compared to how I felt about it, say 10 years previously in the late 80s, was very different. And the game had changed a lot, in those 10 years as well. I think they'd made the rules a lot more simpler. They'd kind of maybe dumbed them down considerably. And so therefore they were attracting a wider age group of people getting into it, which is fine. It's great. That's what you got to do as a commercial company. But from my perspective, it was like working in a glorified creche. It was like babysitting, and my interest in it was negligible. I only lasted 6 months in the job. I had to leave. But I've been involved. I did recently. I did a vocal line for a games workshop, Chaos Gate. Skaven game. So I've still got that kind of little connection with them. Still engaged with a few of the old employees on LinkedIn and things like that. And I am very fond of those days. And that hobby was an incredible, great hobby. To be involved in and to creatively really helped kind of formulate what I was about back in those days. But at this point in my life, I'm a grumpy old git now, and I just don't have time for that. I don't have time for that kind of shit.
All right. Yeah, because maybe 3 months ago, I had the first opportunity to actually try a little the Warhammer game. I was like, okay, I see the appeal. The appeal now.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I quite like 40k. I always quite like 40k, but for me, it was the Warhammer Fantasy Battle, which was the big epic one that I really kind of engaged with, and that's the thing for me that I really liked. And but great days, great visuals. It helped the band. For Bolton, it really worked because it kind of set us apart from every other band that was out there. It gave us this incredible artwork, which no other band had, and set us gave us a bit of leverage, something a bit of a different selling point. But that was history. And I have no longer, and not just that. I used to really like all sorts of tabletop wargaming. 1/300 scale World War II. Strategy. All these kind of when you kind of in your formative years and you learn all these different strategies and tactics for tabletop wargaming. They do resonate throughout your life as well, because you learn strategies and tactics for coping in all sorts of situations as well. It teaches you how to lose quite graciously and to win magnanimously as well. So there are different aspects that you can interpret into general life as well. So they are good life skills all round.
I've never thought about it that way, but it makes so much sense. Yes. But have you played over the years, have you played any other games? Do you consider yourself a gamer? Do you play any video games or anything from that foundation of tabletop games?
No, not really. I'm pretty old school when it comes to my thing. I remember back in the day when computers were first coming in, and there was this game that swept the nation called Doom, and I always remember playing Doom absolutely off my head. And rather than using the soundtrack to Doom, I used to play my own music to the background. There's a band called Coil, an industrial band called Coil that did an album called How to Destroy Angels. I used to play that in the background whilst I was playing Doom, the first version of it. Absolutely scared the shit out of me. Absolutely frightening. But see, because now I'm a bit older, obviously, 20, 30 years on down the line. Yeah, I'm watching my kids playing their computer. They are totally fascinated by computer games, and seeing how they've developed over the past 20, 30 years is incredible. You know, the
Yeah.
kids, my kids are totally engaged with games like Minecraft and things like that. Yeah, and by default, I've kind of, you know, I'm pretty good at that as well.
Yeah. Well, that also like kind of like weaves into the memoriams, like the artwork and this, because it certainly could be some sort of like a Warhammer 40k style of a game, or with figurines and all that.
Yeah,
Or it also could be some sort of a video game, because
yeah,
the graphic and the war theme,
absolutely.
it's all there.
It kind of maintains the theme that we've always kind of carried on. You know, it's always going to be there. You know, I mean, for me, visually, you know, music and records and buying records for me, because I'm from that background where you buy record albums.
Ooh,
so
yes.
for me, it's the visual content is almost as important as the music. You know, sometimes I've actually bought in the past, I've bought a record because I like the album cover. You know, I think people do that. You know, we still do that. You know, and so for me, having a great record that sounds great is one thing, but having an album cover that looks killer is just as important. So you know, they both go hand in hand, definitely.
Yeah, but it's always, it sucks so much when you find a cool cover art and then the music sucks.
Yeah,
it's like
it's always good to check it out. It's always good to check it out first. Yeah.
Yeah, like the other way around, I don't mind that much.
Yeah,
but it's
I can live with that. Yeah, I can live with that. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you can do that these days, though. You know, you can actually listen to stuff online before you actually buy it. You couldn't do that back in the day when I was around.
Yeah. But since you haven't been like spending your days, especially last year, 2020, when I don't know, like what's the situation in UK right now with the whole restrictions and lockdowns? Are you in lockdown?
Yeah, they're still in place. The schools have just gone back last week, so it's starting to ease. You know, there are there's a timetable, a route to recovery, as the government put it. Roadmap to recovery, that's the one. Yeah. And so yeah, things are starting to roll back to a sense of normality. Beer gardens are open soon. But yeah, so we're starting to see it. But yeah, it could all change, you know, on a knife edge, couldn't it? You know, things happen such a rapid pace that things can always revert back. You know, who knows? But we are definitely moving in the right direction. You know, and definitely by this time next year, I think we'll be in a far better place, and things will be, you know, hopefully, you know, near to as normal as we know it.
Yes. So like last year, most of the times I was either listening to music or writing about music or playing video games. So what were you doing? Like obviously you have the family thing and the album and the band thing going on, but like when you have your precious me time, what does Karl Willets do?
Karl Willets does never have any precious me time. Simple as that.
Oh.
No, no, that's no. I mean, my fault. Yeah, I'm totally immersed with kind of like my work, my family, and the band. That really just fill, you know, probably about 90% of my time. But when there is a downtime, I just like to just relax really and sleep, and drink whiskey and drink beer and watch rubbish TV. That's what keeps me going. Yeah, I mean, I used to watch a lot of documentaries, or I used to read quite a lot, but you know, kind of my attention to that at the moment is not really high. So yeah, I mean, it's just my downtime is just trying to recover and relax. That's the reality of it. Having two young kids, it takes it out of you.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Kids.
Yeah.
band.
Yeah. I like a bit of football. You could go to football. You go not play it, obviously, but go to watch football. Quite a lot. But I don't do that so often these days. So yeah, I've got a few things that are interesting. Yeah, craft. I said previously, craft beer is my thing right now. So drinking. Yeah, drinking.
It's a good.
Yeah.
It's a good hobby. Cool. I wish I had beer, but I have none right now. But, oh well.
Right.
It's something to look forward to. And in that segue, looking forward into the bright future, are there like any plans besides releasing the album in 16 days for 2021 with the band? What's cooking up for Memoriam?
Yeah, well, obviously we've got the new album coming out in 16 days time, which is great. And then really we kind of like at a bit of a lost space until we can start doing shows, which I think are really going to start happening towards the end of this year, hopefully. So we're aiming at maybe August time we're going to start doing shows. Between now and then, COVID restrictions applying, we're going to start rehearsing for the live shows. We might do some kind of live streaming shows as well to help promote the album, and I think that's a new platform, a new phenomenon that's going to
certainly
roll forward. We were always kind of adverse from doing that, but I think with the world that we're living in now, you have to embrace change, and there are a lot of positive things about doing a live streaming show that kind of can get you out to a wider global audience, to people that otherwise probably couldn't see you live. So we're going to probably do that as well. We've got a few little side projects we're all doing as well, bits and pieces here and there, which keeps us active. So yeah, we got a lot going on. We are writing the new album as we speak as well. So we've got 6 or 7 songs on the go in preparation for that. So yeah, we never rest on our laurels. We're always moving forward, and the future is good.
Nice. And also, like with each person I interview, I like to in the end, I call this segment called "Circle of the Tyrants." Some
Circle of the Tyrants.
Ooh. Yes.
Yeah.
Some. Ooh. Awesome.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I want you to I want to spread positivity, and I want people to give shout outs, their appreciation, regards, their reverence to other artists, musicians, etc., who are still alive today.
Okay.
So not for example, when Lemmy Kilmister or someone like a big star dies, and then afterwards people start paying those, sending he was a good guy. So I want to also, while people are still here with us, the opportunity to give the platform to pat each other in the backs.
Absolutely, that's a very positive thing to do. I think we've already given tribute to the fallen. Earlier in this interview, we've mentioned LG. Which is very, very forthright in our minds, and Martin in the past, and and Brett from 11, who are all good friends. But yeah, it's a good opportunity to pay tribute to the people that are amongst us and keep us going. So I'd like to say thanks to all the people really that have kept us going throughout the years, people that kind of support us, people that we consider to be our followers, fans, family, friends. Without your support, we were very aware that we would be able to do this, and we are honoured and privileged to be in this position right now at this point in our lives. So yeah, it's a good opportunity to say thanks to everyone. In Finland in particular, we know there's a big following for us in Finland. We love Finland, the land of the dark, the land of the lights, and we look forward to getting back over to Finland at some point in the future. Our last experience of Finland was with LG, so we are looking forward to getting back over there and doing that again. And just keep happy, keep smiling, people, keep positive, look to the future, and we'll all be okay. We'll all meet each other on the other side. Thank you
Yes.
very much for your time, Jan. It's a pleasure to speak to you this evening. I wish you all the best.
Thank you also, Karl Willets, and I also wish you all the best.
No niin, siinä oli sellainen haastattelu tällä kertaa. Jos tykkäsitte tästä meiningistä, niin ei muuta kuin seuratkaa Metalliluolaa meidän nettisivulla www.metalliluola.fi sekä Instagramissa Metalliluola, sieltä löytyy. Sekä sitten tämä meidän YouTube-kanava, ei muuta kuin tykätkää, jakakaa ja sitten sitä kellonkuvaa, että seuraatte meitä ja saatte tietää aina kun seuraava video sitten taas pelmahtaa eetteriin, niin tällaista sitten tällä kertaa. Ei muuta kuin palataan, se on moro.